This is the most wonderful time of the year, isn't it? We're just about to get to that week where all the bowl games matter, either January 1st or afterwards. You get to post up in front of your favorite television. Brandon and I will be here on Wednesday breaking down all the games for you on BTN. But there's also distractions. If you're a player, if you're a coach, if you're at the Rose Bowl, the Rose Parade, all the media obligations, you got to worry about what's going to be in that bowl goodie bag. Did you get the Xbox? Did you get the Wii? What'd you get this year?
Flat screens.
I mean, how much of a distraction? You guys both played in bowl games. Your biggest one was probably the Cap One Bowl. Jay, you played in the Rose Bowl. How big an issue are the distractions? It's so different than a regular week.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like you said, Capital One was as big as it got. I played in a bowl game 4 straight years. So I guess after the first bowl game, it's kind of much pretty the same routine because coach puts together the plan and you follow the plan. You don't deviate. You don't try to do extra. And he puts the plan ahead of you. We're doing it this day, this day.
You don't get to take in a little bit extra.
You get 1 day. You get 1 day.
You're down in Florida. You get to go hang out with Mickey Mouse for a little while.
You can go on the beach. You can go wherever you want. But you get one day with your family. Other than that, it's all business, brother.
See, I didn't have the privilege of going to a bowl game every year when I was there. We just went to one bowl game. We went to the Granddaddy Bowl, so we did it right. Yeah. But I will say this. We had some young athletic players that we went to the Rose Bowl. Like, man, we don't want to be coming back. So, hey, I think it was a distraction at some point for some of those young guys. Some of the older guys were a little bit more mature about it, but it can definitely be a distraction, especially for a program like Illinois doesn't go every day.
Didn't you also play against a USC team that had Ray Maualuga, Brian Cushing, Taylor Mays, Lawrence Jackson,
Clay Matthews, Joe McKnight?
Was that a good defense?
Wow. It was nasty. I can't believe they were not in the BCS National Championship game. I mean, I was playing an NFL team right there. I mean, gosh.
It's true. Basically, every guy off that defense spent some time in the NFL and a whole bunch of guys on that offense as well. All right, so we are about 36 hours, as I mentioned, from crossing into the new year. You got to make your resolutions, but I don't want you guys to share your resolutions yet. I want you to make a resolution for each team still to play. So we like to change things with our resolution. What do the 5 remaining Big Ten teams have to change to be successful? And we're going to start, Brandon, with you in the Gator Bowl with the Huskers.
I think for Nebraska, going into this football game, we know they can run the football, so I think they need to control the line of scrimmage from a defensive standpoint. They haven't done a whole lot defensively of slowing down other teams' run game, and I think to go with their run game, they need to stop a Georgia football team who is a lot like a Big Ten team. They're going to run it with Todd Gurley because he is a beast.
Yeah, Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall. I'm going to say the exact same thing. They've got to stop the run. The black shirts have not been the black shirts this year.
Yeah, man.
And I'll tell you what, with Aaron Murray out, the running game is going to be that much more important for the Bulldogs. So watch out. They'll get a heavy dose of both those backs.
Outback Bowl pits Iowa against LSU. Now, LSU is a heavy favorite, but Iowa seems to be gaining a little bit of momentum as a sleeper pick. Personally, I think they can win this game outright, but they're going to have to resolve to do a few things that they didn't do in their 4 losses this year. Jay, what has to change for the Hawkeyes against LSU?
Jake Rudock cannot throw interceptions because when you're like Iowa and you play so fundamentally sound on defense and have a very simple offense, you can't afford to turn the ball over. And he's turned it over a little bit. Although he's a young quarterback and he's played pretty solid this year, he's had some unfortunate interceptions. He cannot afford to do that against LSU.
Yeah, and I think me and you were looking at some of the same notes because they are 6-0 when they win the turnover battle. He's thrown 12 picks this year. He can't do that because I think they have to keep this game close to the vest and control the clock. And if they can control the clock, meaning have the biggest time of possession and limit LSU from being able to get all those receivers, Odell Beckham and Landry, into the game, they'll have a great chance of being that sleeper team to upset.
Now, interesting, Georgia doesn't have Aaron Murray, and of course, Zach Mettenberger, who ended up at LSU because of Aaron Murray, also won't play for LSU in this game with a torn ACL, so the Bayou Bengals go with a backup as well. Capital One Bowl, your alma mater, Wisconsin, spends a lot of time down in Florida and in California. This year, after a 3-year trip out to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl, they take a break, get back to Florida, and they'll take on South Carolina. These two teams seem like mirror images of each other. They're tough. They have big, strong defensive linemen, like to run the football. What does Wisconsin need to resolve to do against the Gamecocks?
I think they need to punch the bully in the eye. I think they need to go right at Jadeveon Clowney and attack the best player on their football team. And I think if they can do that with the trap, with the lead, go right at that young man and say, hey, you're going to have to do more than just rush the passer. You're not finna tee off on Joe Stave. And I think if they can do that, they'll be fine in this game.
I think they got to forget about the last 3 years. I mean, that class, so Chris Borland, since he was a freshman, went to 3 Rose Bowls, but they've lost each one. So what's going to be different this New Year's Day bowl game? You know, before that, when you played there and in the 90s, they won 3 Rose Bowls.
Yeah, they did.
They were known as a great bowl team because there's a really tough matchup because of their unique style. What they've got to do is have a short memory as far as the last 3 years, they're gone. This is a new year. Gary Anderson's the head coach, and they can win this football game.
Yeah, and that'll help. Gary Anderson has never been to a bowl game until now as the head coach at Wisconsin. We're doing this chronologically, not by order of importance. So now we go to the 4th and final January 1 bowl, the Rose Bowl. We've already talked about the fact that Max Bulla won't be there for Michigan State. As the Spartans get ready to face a really, really good Stanford team, Jay, what do they need to resolve to do?
They've got to resolve just to play with the players that are there. Don't worry about who's not there. It's hard to give them any other resolution because they've won 9 straight games by double digits. But they have to focus on the players that are there, not the ones that are not there.
Yeah, I like that. But I'm going in the direction of Connor Cook. I think the Connor Cook connection has to show up at this bowl game. The last 4 games he's played in, he's been up, he's been down. Last time we seen him, he threw for 300. The week before that against Minnesota, he threw for 143. Stanford is a solid defensive football team. They will stop Langford at times. He will have to drop back in that pocket and find an open guy and hit him in the chest.
Finally, January 3rd, Friday night down in Miami, it's Ohio State, it's Clemson. Ohio State obviously just 1 win away from that national championship game. Got to stop playing what if. What do they have to start doing?
You know what? They have to start playing in the secondary and stop the pass because, let me tell you, Sammy Watkins, Martavius Bryant, these is top NFL draft picks that's about to come at Bradley Roby and company. And they've struggled. They let Jared Abbrederis get 200. They let Jeremy Gallen get 190. They in trouble. And they better figure it out.
Roby not 100% healthy, and Noah Spence didn't even make the trip, might not play the D end.
Speaking truth over there, Brent, I agree with that. I would also say this, though. They need to learn how to throw the ball effectively. For as potent as that offense has been, and it's broken almost every record for Big Ten teams, they have not really thrown the ball all that effectively, and that showed in the Big Ten championship game. When they needed to come back against Michigan State, Braxton Miller couldn't hit a receiver.
And the way that they ran it throughout the year against teams like Indiana and other teams that they just ran it down their throat, that ain't going to happen. Not against Stanford. Not against this Cardinal defense that is awfully, awfully tough.